After my son was burned by knocking over the charcoal fire, the gentleman gave me two choices: either divorce him publicly through the newspaper, or give up writing altogether and focus on being Mr. Chang's wife. Out of guilt, I have been a dutiful Mrs. Chang for 40 years. Until the time of his severe illness and impending death, I heard him reconcile with our son. Back then, in order to obtain one's manuscript for Yuning to reference, I had no choice but to let you bear the scar. As long as it paves the way for Aunt Yuning, it's nothing if my son gets a little hurt. Besides, once Aunt Yuning marries in, we will be one family. Their family lived in harmony, while I died harboring resentment. Reborn, I returned to the day my son knocked over the charcoal fire, in front of the two of them. I set fire to the manuscript I had written. The charcoal brazier was knocked over onto the ground. The red-hot embers splattered out. My son Xiao Cheng had a large burn on his entire lower leg, writhing in pain on the ground, crying out, helplessly reaching a hand toward me. But I stood frozen in place, unable to move. Outside the door, my husband's anxious voice came from afar, growing closer. What happened? Error. Why is Xiao Cheng crying? The neighbors in the tube-shaped building also heard the news and gathered around this side. Why is there so much smoke? Could it be on fire? Before they tried to break down the door of this room, I picked up the manuscript on the table, threw them all into the charcoal brazier that was about to go out. The flames suddenly leapt up. Xiao Cheng forgot his pain, his face turning pale from being frightened by my actions. That was the manuscript I had carefully crafted over half a month, which I had originally planned to send to the Lijiang newspaper today. But at this moment, I did not hesitate to throw it into the charcoal fire. The teacher was stunned when he saw the scene upon entering, quickly taking off his coat to try to extinguish the charcoal fire. Are you crazy? Error 1. There are only 7 days left until the deadline. What are you doing? If I hadn't been reborn, I would really believe that at this moment he was concerned about my future, instead of worrying about losing my manuscript. His student Xiao Yuning couldn't get into Lijiang Press by plagiarizing my articles in the previous life. After Xiao Cheng was burned, I stayed overnight at the Red Cross hospital, not daring to leave. Regret has left me in tears. If only I hadn't spent all day sitting at my desk writing. If only I had noticed Xiao Cheng approaching the brazier in time and taken him away, would he have avoided getting hurt? A scar the size of a bowl lay on the child's calf, and also on my heart as his mother. When my husband proposed to divorce me through a public announcement, I had no words to refute. I could only keep pleading and promising that I would never do this again. 3 years of marriage, yet we struggled to have little Cheng. I also know that his student, Xiao Yuning, has always harbored special feelings for him. Sir, I will not divorce you, unless I die. He sighed and gave me the final choice. Either divorce him publicly in the newspaper, and afterward he will often bring Xiao Cheng to visit me. Either I give up writing altogether and focus on being his good wife and Xiao Cheng's good mother. On one side is my creative dream, on the other is my flesh and blood. I find it hard to let go, until Xiao Cheng woke from his coma, with no trace of resentment in his eyes, instead, with red eyes. She wiped away my tears. Mother, please don't cry. Xiao Cheng doesn't blame you, it was my own carelessness. Please don't be sad. At that moment, my heart made a choice. Later, when I returned home and found the manuscript missing, I didn't pursue it further, simply thinking that my husband had thrown it away. Before long, news arrived that Xiao Yuning had joined Lijiang newspaper. At that moment, I even felt grateful that I had promised the gentleman to stop writing. No longer caring about matters in the literary and art circles, so busy with daily trivialities that I even gave up the habit of reading the newspaper first thing in the morning. This way, I won't see Xiao Yuning's achievements and feel resentment. The one who should resent having all this is me. I make myself care about the prices of rice and vegetables, and about Xiao Cheng's schoolwork and school. I care whether there is another young girl like Xiao Yuning around my husband, mistaking admiration for affection. After Xiao Yuning became famous, the teacher cut off contact with her. But whether Xiao Yuning was being interviewed by the newspaper or compiling articles and publishing books herself, she would always mention her mentor, mention my teacher Kale Chang. They were not together. It was a regretful missed opportunity in the literary world, a twist of fate. Both feeling guilty in their hearts, they all praised Xiao Yuning's articles, believing that her writing reached its peak when Kale Chang guided her. Everyone thought they were like Boya and Ziki, bound by deep affection. No one knew the true origin of those articles. They actually came from Wan, the wife of the indistinct Kale Chang whom they looked down upon, and from my own pen. Xiao Yuning stole my work, but I only learned all this before I died. When I overheard the conversation between Xiao Cheng and his father, back then, in order to get Wan's manuscript for Yuning to reference, I had no choice but to let you get that scar, as long as it paves the way for Aunt Yuning. It's nothing for my son to get hurt a little. Besides, once Aunt Yuning marries in, we will be one family. The son I devotedly raised so lightly forgave that plagiarist for me. The husband I relied on for half my life had been scheming against me with outsiders from so early on. Regret makes it impossible for me to rest in peace. When I opened my eyes again, I had actually returned to the day my son Xiao Cheng knocked over the charcoal fire. There are only 7 days left until the deadline for Lijiang newspaper. This time, Xiao Yuning won't get my manuscript. I want to see if she can pass Lijiang newspaper's writing test on her own. Outside the emergency room, Xiao Yuning rushed over in high heels. With red eyes, she slapped me. I'm telling you, if anything happens to Xiao Cheng today, I won't let you off easily. Outsiders would think she was Xiao Cheng's mother, the real wife of Kale Chang. She is just in her early 20s. Crying with tears like pear blossoms in the rain. Even with such a rude gesture, Kale Chang only gave her a symbolic tug. When I wanted to return it, Kale Chang blocked my way, looking at me with an uneasy expression. Have you caused enough trouble? Xiao Cheng is still lying inside an emergency care area. You usually know how to behave. What's gotten into you today? He even dared to ask me what was wrong, as if I hadn't already set the manuscript on fire. He should be holding my article right now. Guiding Xiao Yuning in plagiarism. Unfortunately, Xiao Yuning is still unaware that things have changed. She thinks Kale Chang has already gotten hold of my manuscript, still pressing me according to the original plan. If she wants me to stop writing just like that, she can rest easy with the plagiarized manuscript in hand. Xiao Cheng was burned. And sir, are you really going to forgive her so lightly? In my opinion, her mind and eyes are completely set on writing articles to get into the newspaper, and she has no intention of taking care of you or Xiao Cheng. According to the original plan, Kale Chang would naturally bring up that choice at this moment, forcing me to choose between writing articles and getting a divorce. But now, Kale Chang witnessed me setting the manuscript on fire. He did not get hold of the most important trump card and could only remain silent. Yet I took the initiative to speak. Yes. I deeply regret it. After much thought, I had no choice but to burn the manuscript and stop writing. Only then can I later announce our separation in the newspaper with you. Sir, to offset my fault, I do not agree. Kale Chang looked at me with a deathly pale face. He couldn't understand how overnight I seemed like a completely different person, the one who used to care so much about Xiao Cheng, about this family, the one who, even amidst war and exile, was willing to live and die with them. Today, he took the initiative to mention filing for divorce in the newspaper. He couldn't understand it and just thought I was confused because of Xiao Yuning's anger. Don't mention such impulsive things again. Xiao Cheng has woken up, and hearing this would only make him sad. He pulled Xiao Yuning away. I guess he went to explain to her about the manuscript being burned. Xiao Cheng was pushed out of the emergency room, with leg burns just like in his previous life. Fortunately, he was brought in on time, so it doesn't affect his ability to walk, but the scars will probably remain after healing. Sitting by Xiao Cheng's bedside, my emotions were somewhat complicated. When it comes to this child who shares my blood, I can't be as ruthless as I am with Kale Chang. So I have no choice but to leave him be for now. The urgent matter is the submission deadline for the Lijiang newspaper in 3 days. When the list of selected entries for this call for submissions will be announced, not only is there a payment for the manuscript, but there are also job opportunities at the newspaper, accommodation, and a monthly allowance of 30 yuan. This is my only chance to leave in the near future. Only by achieving financial independence, only then can I avoid the tragic fate of living dependent on others like in my past life, even if Kale Chang disagrees. I will announce our divorce in the newspaper at that time. At night, after Xiao Cheng falls asleep, I write by the moonlight at the bedside in the hospital room. When the sky begins to brighten faintly, I go outside the corridor to fetch water. When I turned back, I found Kale Chang sitting at Xiao Cheng's bedside. Though I didn't notice when he had arrived, my heart was in my throat, simply because the newly written manuscript had not yet been put away. Kale Chang's expression was as usual, error. You've been working hard guarding for several nights. Go back and rest, I'll take over here. Xiao Cheng gave me a look and stuffed the clothes he had changed out of into my hands. Inside, there was the manuscript I had just written, although I don't know why Mother wanted to burn the manuscript and rewrite it. Xiao Cheng guesses you probably don't want Father to know. Don't worry, Mother, Xiao Cheng will always stand by your side. I couldn't help but feel a bit soft-hearted. Perhaps the 9-year-old Xiao Cheng now is not the same as the 40-year-old Xiao Cheng. When the manuscript was successfully delivered to Lijiang Press, my heart finally settled back into my stomach. I rarely had a good night's sleep, and in a half-dream, half-awake state, I felt someone gently patting my back. The movement was gentle. I groggily opened my eyes, and under the moonlight were Kale Chang's lowered brows and eyes. It was as if I had returned to the day I first fled from the countryside to the city to escape an arranged marriage. I couldn't sleep all night. Whenever I closed my eyes, it was that man over 50 years old, the old wealthy man with 8 concubines sat in that decaying old mansion, watching me. Kale Chang was also gently patting my back, just like today. Don't be afraid, Error is not afraid, the gentleman is here, in my past life. I admired the gentleman's literary achievements and was moved by his delicate tenderness towards me. I can't tell if it's genuine or fake. This time, I simply closed my eyes, pretending to be completely unaware, just waiting for the press to announce the results. Then I would leave this home for good. But with only 1 day left before the deadline, what I received was a rejection letter from the Lijiang Press. Upon verification, this article plagiarizes Ms. Xiao Yuning's unpublished work Jing River. Such behavior is egregious, and the piece will not be accepted. Furthermore, Ms. Error 1 will be permanently barred from future collaborations. My heart sank to the bottom of the valley. I almost trembled as I picked up the manuscript by Xiao Yuning attached to the rejection letter. The choice of words, sentence construction, and the flow of the writing were no different from the new article I had just written the day before yesterday. How Xiao Yuning got hold of the article I had just finished writing, from completion to submission, during this time, the only person who knew was my son, Xiao Cheng. I walked to the doorstep in a daze, smelling the aroma of food from afar. To celebrate Xiao Yuning's article being selected, Kale Chang specially prepared a table full of delicious dishes. The 3 of them sat together, like a family of 3, seeing the rejection letter from Lijiang Press in my hand. Kale Chang cleared his throat and changed the subject. Just got back, and I'm already waiting for you alone. Xiao Cheng also looked away guiltily. Only Xiao Yuning lifted her wine cup and gracefully walked over to me. Smiling brightly, the pride of having successfully plagiarized was evident in her eyes and brows. Sister Era, I toast to you with this drink. Although I don't know why you kept writing articles behind our backs, your articles have been very helpful to my own creations. When I win the award at the Lijiang Press tomorrow, you must come. I took the cup from her hand and splashed it all over her face. Kale Chang, seeing this scene, was furious to the point of rage. Error 1. Are you crazy? Yes, I am crazy. In this lifetime, I actually still held a little hope for this father and son. I thought it was the passage of time that had changed them beyond recognition. Unexpectedly, it was rotten from the very beginning. Kale Chang pulled me away. Standing protectively in front of Xiao Yuning, his face filled with deep disappointment towards me, you burned the manuscript and secretly wrote the article behind our backs, all to guard against me and Yuning. You even schemed against your own family. Error 1. How did you become so ruthless? Clearly, Yuning needs this opportunity more than you do. You have me and Xiao Cheng by your side, so why must you compete with Yuning for this chance? My son Xiao Cheng sat coldly by the table, looking at me indifferently from beginning to end. Mother, you've already crippled one of my legs because of writing your article. Do you want to cripple me a second time? I took a deep breath and turned to leave. I am not your mother. From today onward, I have no connection whatsoever with your Chang family. Torrential rain soaked me to the bone as I rushed to the Lijiang Press. Today was the last day for Lijiang Press to accept submissions from outside. I nervously found the person in charge. I did not plagiarize. I took out the file folder I was clutching to my chest. Inside were articles previously written by Xiao Yuning. This is the reason why I insisted on going back just now. It can be seen that the writing style is very different from that of Jing River. It is impossible for a person's writing style to undergo such a drastic change in a short period of time. Moreover, the draft ideas I left when conceiving Jing River can all serve as evidence. It is doubtful whether Jing River was actually written by Xiao Yuning. We will temporarily revoke this piece's eligibility for the award to conduct an investigation, but for now, we cannot prove that you are the author of this work. Even if the results of the subsequent investigation come out, this award ceremony has already concluded. Can you give me a pen? What? My eyes were full of stubbornness. Give me a pen. There are still 3 hours before your newspaper office closes. I can rewrite an article and submit it. I need this opportunity. I need a job that can provide me with a place to belong. I cannot repeat the life I had in my previous life. As my vision blurred with tears, a pen was handed to me. It was still tied with a red ribbon used for commendations. It seemed I had just heard the editors at the newspaper discussing. Today, graduates from Zhenqiao Aviation School came for interviews and to receive commendations. When I looked up, I met a pair of smiling eyes. His name is Fu Dongting. He was the top student among this batch of graduates who returned from training in the United States. He is still from the same hometown as me. The pen he handed me was an award he received in recognition. The pen barrel had never been inked, leaving only futile scratches on the paper. Fu Dongting took the opportunity to speak up on my behalf. The fountain pen the newspaper gave me, isn't it too much to just fill it with ink? After filling the ink, he pressed me down into the chair and even kicked the charcoal brazier closer to me to warm up. The newspaper staff came and went, and no one said anything anymore. By the time I handed in the manuscript, the water stains on my body had almost dried up from the heat. I didn't even have time to check it again. When the article was delivered to the editor-in-chief's office, the hand holding the pen was still trembling uncontrollably. The quartz clock on the wall struck loudly. The door to the editor-in-chief's office finally opened from the inside. Congratulations, Miss Wan. At that moment, my ears seemed to go deaf. The overwhelming joy almost made it impossible for me to hear what the person in charge was saying, until a bunch of cold keys fell into my palm. Along with an envelope containing the prize money, our editor-in-chief said that the other intangible rewards can wait, but you should urgently need this money and the keys to an apartment of your own now. For a woman to write, she must have a sum of money and a room of her own. I almost ran down the stairs. After the rain cleared, fragmented sunlight filtered through the dissipating clouds, falling on my face. On the street, the tram jingled, and rickshaws came and went carrying elegantly dressed dignitaries. The newsboy at the end of the street is shouting out the papers, and soon the newspapers he sells will bear my byline. This is the first time I have stood on the land of this city through my own efforts, without relying on my father or husband. Solely by the power of my own pen, I have obtained the life I desire. Just standing here, my heart feels more secure than before. It was only when I got to the apartment that I realized I was still holding Fu Dongting's pen, and I felt embarrassed belatedly. I'll ask them to pass it on when I go to the newspaper office tomorrow. Before that, I need to go back to the Chang family's place and move my things over. Nothing else matters. The only thing was the gold ring my mother pressed into my hand when I ran away from my marriage. It was the reward given to her by the scholar lord when she was pawned to a second household to bear a son. She had sewn it into her own clothes and hidden it for many years, but on the night I fled the marriage, she forced it onto my finger. I then kept it in the tin box by my bedside, thinking that if anything ever happened in the future, I could take it out in an emergency. In my previous life, this ring was eventually pawned to pay for Xiaocheng's school fees. This time, I rummaged through the bedside cabinet but couldn't find it anywhere. Xiaocheng looked at me in a sulk. That was my mother's ring. You are no longer my mother now. Aunt Yuning is my mother. I have already given the ring to her to be made into gold earrings. Kale Chang was also returning arm in arm with Xiao Yuning at this time. The newly made gold earrings by Xiao Yuning's ear swayed back and forth as she laughed sweetly and said, "The child doesn't understand." I was wondering why this style looked so outdated. Sister Era, please don't mind. Once I get the bonus from the Lijiang press tomorrow, I'll buy a new pair and return these to you. The press office had closed for the day, and the results had not yet been announced publicly. Xiao Yuning was still dreaming of getting into the Lijiang press, and even Kale Chang chimed in to support her. If you apologize to Yuning now, once she gets into the newspaper industry, I will have her arrange some opportunities for you to write articles, but you must not neglect taking care of Xiao Cheng, and the byline can only be credited to Yuning. How absurd, they don't see me as a mother or a wife. Clearly, they see me as a cow to be milked and a horse to work tirelessly without regret. I have wasted my whole life just for this pair of father and son. Unfortunately, this time the situation was not as they had hoped. Firecrackers crackled loudly downstairs. Fu Dongting got out of the car, still holding the award trophy from the Lijiang Press essay contest. I wish everyone in this tube-shaped building would know that the first prize in the Lijiang newspaper's essay contest this time is me. Error 1. Tomorrow I will start working at Lijiang newspaper. These past few days, Xiao Yuning was so sure she had won that she boasted a lot to others in the building. Now that the results are out, Xiao Yuning is quite embarrassed. How is that possible? Error 1 plagiarized me with solid evidence, and her article was already rejected by Lijiang Press. I clearly saw the rejection letter in her hands. She could only question Fu Dongting's identity. Are you the wild man Error 1 stole from? How many times has she slept with you? Did you come here to help her act out this scene? The first to get angry because of these words was Kale Chang. Error 1. You'd better give me an explanation. It's always like this. Every time I have a quarrel with Xiao Yuning, no matter who is right or wrong, or who provokes first, he always singles me out for harsh criticism. But this time, Fu Dongting stood calmly in front of me, the medals on his chest jingling clinkingly. Mr. Chang, Miss Xiao. You better think about how to explain this to the police chief first. The clerk at the gold shop is the eyewitness to the theft of Erwan's pure gold ring, and the pair of earrings on Miss Xiao's ears are the physical evidence. He laughed mockingly. This is the first time I've seen someone so blatantly wear stolen goods on their ears. After all, Fu Dongting came from the battlefield. Even when smiling, his oppressive aura made Xiao Yuning shiver, in her panic. When she took off the earrings, her earlobes were torn and bleeding. Xiao Cheng was so frightened by those words that he thought he was really going to jail, and he cried loudly. Kale Chang's face flushed red and then pale with anger, and unwillingly called out to me, Error 1, is being my wife really such a grievance for you? I have thought about this question, more than once. Kale Chang truly is considered a good husband in the eyes of many. No matter how much Xiao Yuning showed kindness to him in their past life, he never openly responded. It was only after I fell seriously ill that the two of us re-established contact. What else could there be to be dissatisfied with? Perhaps even if I had known earlier that Xiao Yuning had plagiarized my article, I still wouldn't have been able to seek justice for myself. Everyone advises me not to dwell on it. It's all matters from half a lifetime ago. What use is there in dwelling on it? Can someone over 50 still engage in literary creation? And who would even read it? Why cause unhappiness for my own family over something so intangible and elusive? But sir, I fled an arranged marriage from the countryside to come here, not to escape one decaying mansion only to enter another, more civilized prison. Rather than being anyone's wife or concubine, I would rather be myself, that's all. Words I couldn't say in 2 lifetimes. I never thought I would lay them all out today. After pouring out my heart, what I felt most was confusion. By the time I came to my senses, Fu Dongting had already parked the car outside a century-old silver shop. I heard that the masters here all retired from the former palace, and there's nothing they can't restore, but correspondingly, the craftsmanship fees they charge are also very high. Before I could even react, Fu Dongting had already handed over Xiao Yuning's pair of earrings. Please restore this pair of earrings into a ring. I described the style of the ring to the master, and he waved his hand. No one wears that style anymore. The corresponding restoration labor cost is also high and not cost-effective. It's better to make a style that's currently popular. Although Fu Dongting always communicated with a smile, there was no hint of compromise in his tone, just the kind she described. Master, please take the trouble, name your price, I'll accept it. For a moment, I was at a loss. In the past, Kale Chang always advised me to compromise, to not be so serious or picky. As long as life could go on, that was enough. Suddenly, someone appeared and told me, no, that's not right. If you want that style, it should be that style. Don't compromise. Amidst the sound of gold and silver clinking throughout the building, Fu Dongting's voice fell into my ears like a thunderclap on a clear day. Erwan, if you want justice, then justice should be served to you. It's not about using something else to kidnap you, nor is it about casually giving you something to shut you up. You just go ahead and get the justice you want. I'll pay the price. When I knocked and walked into the editor-in-chief's office at Lijiang News, the editor raised an eyebrow and glanced at me. At a time like this, I thought you would want to lay low. After all, Xiao Yuning is now spreading rumors everywhere, claiming there is a dark secret behind the selection of candidates and articles at Lijiang Press. Even literary giant Kale Chang has stepped forward to speak on her behalf. As everyone knows, Kale Chang is my husband, such an act of putting justice above family ties. It has even led many scholars to praise Kale Chang for his integrity, lamenting that Xiao Yuning, a bright pearl, has been overshadowed. The only real loss was suffered by Lijiang Press. The editor-in-chief was straightforward with me, saying that Kale Chang had already given her a heads up. As long as Lijiang Press fires me, he will publish an article to clarify the false comments he once made about Lijiang Press. Losing an employee in exchange for a good reputation is a bargain no matter how you look at it. At that moment, I pushed open the door to her office. I wore the restored ring over my heart and took a deep breath. I want to fight for justice for myself. Moreover, given the current situation, going back on our word may not be the best solution for Lijiang newspaper. It would be better to publish all the works from this time one after another. Just like grading exams, the names should be concealed, since the selection and staffing standards of Lijiang newspaper are being questioned. The newspaper will not participate in the evaluation, inviting people from all walks of life to comment, naturally starting with Mr. Kale Chang. After all the comments are made, the authorship of the works will be revealed. Which is better or worse will be clear at a glance. Your writing style, your husband should be the most familiar with it, right? Aren't you afraid that out of personal bias, once he recognizes your work, he might criticize it harshly? He definitely will, in the published works. He will surely pick out that piece, The Ideal Wife, and criticize it harshly, simply because that is my mother's story. At the height of our emotions, I confided in him about my mother's story. The vulnerability once exposed has now become the dagger he thrusts at me. In the face of national suffering, individual hardships seem insignificant, and this article, focusing solely on the female perspective, is too narrow to be suitable for publication in a newspaper like the Lijiang Daily, which holds considerable influence. To demonstrate the fairness of his words, he elevates other articles as evidence. This is my purpose. He wouldn't know that the articles of mine published in the newspaper this time were not just that one. How could this happen? As soon as Xiao Yuning saw the byline in the Lijiang Daily, she knew they had lost this round. Now the outside world is mocking Kale Chang for not even recognizing how many articles his own wife has written. The article Dian Qi was disparaged as utterly worthless, even saying things like women only complain bitterly and are not good at writing. Yet my other works were praised as masterpieces of genius. Words that contradict themselves naturally lose their credibility. Meanwhile, the lawyer's letter from Lijiang Press will be drafted and sent to Xiao Yuning. In the name of the newspaper, she will be sued for defamation and slander, and her acts of plagiarism will be made public to the press industry peers. For the sake of Xiao Yuning, Kale Chang came to me once again. I thought he would act like before, right from the start, bossing me around, expecting me to clean up the mess for Xiao Yuning. But this time, after he sat down, he was silent for a while, then looked at me with a bitter smile. I used to think that I knew you well enough, but it wasn't until I saw those articles that I realized otherwise. We shared the same bed and raised Xiao Cheng together, yet he never truly knew my thoughts and feelings. I stirred the melting sugar cube in my coffee cup and recited a passage from one of Kale Chang's old articles. That woman, Wan Shi, was ignorant and dull, with only one redeeming quality. She possessed the obedience and steadfastness of an old-fashioned woman, half a lifetime as husband and wife, growing old together. But this was all the evaluation he ever had of me in the past. She was a legally wedded wife, the mother of their son Xiao Cheng, an old-fashioned woman who stayed at home without her own thoughts. Teacher, it's not that you don't understand me, it's that you have never wanted to understand me. Your life is so vast, famous from a young age, studying abroad, you can be just one of those barbaric and feudal bystanders. But I am one of those barbaric and feudal experiences, survivors. Not long after I ran away from my marriage, news came from the village that my mother had passed away. I was almost forced to return to my hometown. I knew that this time returning home, it would probably be hard to escape again. When I was planning to leave without saying goodbye, the gentleman stopped me and said, "Era, let's get married." After marrying him, I would no longer be forced to be sold to others as a concubine, even if for that he had to endure my father's harsh demands and extortion, and adapt to the rural customs of drinking until his whole body broke out in red rashes. Yet he never let go of my hands, gently patting me to comfort me. "Era, don't be afraid, I am here." In the decades that followed, I savored that small bit of sweetness. It was by holding on to that little sweetness that I endured a lifetime. But now that fate has given me a chance to start over, I can no longer continue living such a hopeless life. Even though I couldn't help but choke up and tremble when I said it, I finally spoke the words aloud. "Doctor, let's announce our divorce in the newspaper." Kale Chang couldn't understand how he and I ended up like this. Clearly, I used to be the one who gave him the least trouble, unlike Xiao Yunying, who wanted stars and the moon, Miss Buddha lipstick, and imported glass stockings. Most of the time, I am like a cup of warm water, bland, tasteless, and without presence, yet always by his side, in a place he can reach whenever he thinks of me. I have no hobbies or interests. No particular care in dressing or eating. The only thing I am passionate about is writing. He didn't like the way I looked when I was writing, so focused that there was no room in my eyes for anyone else, so it wasn't just for Xiao Yunying. If it were only to pave the way for Xiao Yunying, he could have easily written on her behalf. He just didn't want me to keep writing. He only wanted me to return to the days when my eyes and heart belonged solely to him and Xiao Cheng. She just preferred me to be a silent, old-fashioned woman. What he needed was just such an old-fashioned woman. So that day, he carried Xiao Cheng to a spot near the charcoal brazier. He was all too aware that a mother's guilt and love for her child were enough to make her sacrifice and yield. But it was precisely from that day on that I became increasingly unfamiliar to him. Now I can only watch helplessly, willing to endure rumors and slander. Insisting on publishing the news of my divorce from him in the Lijiang Daily, a single stone stirs up 1,000 waves. Running away from marriage was already an act of rebellion. After freely falling in love with Kale Chang, now having to announce a divorce in the newspaper is even more sensational. For a time, the streets and alleys were filled with discussions about me. Xiao Yunying, even more proudly, arrived at the Chang family with her suitcase, eager to become the new lady of the house. Xiao Cheng, who had always been warm to her, was the first to rush over and throw her suitcase out. "I don't want you to be my mother, I want my mother to come back. It's all because of you that my mother refuses to return." Since I left, Kale Chang has been immersed in writing articles every day. Xiao Yunying is even less reliable. No one cares whether Xiao Cheng's clothes are thin or thick, and no one mends them when they get old or torn. Forgetting to bring lunch to school means going hungry. Now I want to spread the news that I am divorcing Kale Chang. At school, his classmates mocked him for being a motherless child. He finally understood who truly cared about him. He came to my apartment once to look for me, but no one opened the door for him. After all, the neighbors here have never seen me with a child. So Xiao Cheng had no choice but to squat in the hallway and wait for me. Why can't I enter Mother's room? It's so unreasonable. "Mother, don't live here anymore, come back with me." "Okay, Father and I are both waiting for you at home," I sighed. "Chang Yuching, I am no longer your mother. You said it yourself, you would rather have Miss Xiao be your mother." I was once heartbroken and upset because of this, doubting myself. What exactly did I do wrong that made him not recognize me as his mother? I once hoped that one day, he would realize my worth just as he does today. But when that day finally came, I no longer had the patience for him that I once did. Often, Cheng would get so frustrated with me that he had no choice but to settle for second best. "Would Mother give me a bunch of keys? I want to come see you often from now on." He saw that I was silent and took a step back. "It's okay if you don't give me the key. I can sit and wait like today, and Mother won't drive me away." I did not allow him to enter my room. He just sat on the floor outside the door and cried. When Kale Chang came over after hearing the news, he saw Chang Yuching sitting on the ground, while I sat upright at the desk inside the room, proofreading the manuscript. He couldn't believe that I would really be so ruthless towards Chang Yuching. I used to be the person who anxiously worried about the child catching a cold while they played on the floor. After several attempts to speak but stopping short, it finally turned into a sigh. "Error. Xiao Cheng cannot be without his mother. Please come back, I promise you, I will no longer interfere with your writing from now on. This seemed to be the greatest concession he could think of. If you are willing to come back, I can also help you with some of the daily chores so that you can focus on your writing. Nowadays, the vast majority of households still have women taking on the main responsibilities of housework and daily shopping. He was confident that making such a concession already surpassed most men by far, yet I remained unmoved. He was silent for a long moment, as if unwilling to admit, Error 1. Could it be that you have really taken a liking to that pilot? My silence in his eyes was taken as consent. His anger was ignited in an instant. Are you crazy, Error 1? You're a woman who's been married and had children. What right do you have to think he would still want you? He was just playing with you. Do you really take it seriously? Rumors have been rampant these past few days. I did inquire, and Fu Dongting has been deliberately avoiding meeting me. Only I, Kale Chang, will pull you back no matter the rumors. He hadn't finished speaking. Fu Dongting strode over and fiercely kicked him in the chest. Is that ignoring the rumors? You're using the rumors to pressure her, knowing full well how terrifying gossip can be. Such rumors on a man would only earn him a reputation for being charming, but on a woman, they escalate to judging her character. Still, in front of everyone, they make me lose face. It's nothing but using children and rumors to force me to turn back. Kale Chang, loving someone is not like this. Fu Dongting is not avoiding me because he's afraid of being affected by rumors. Every day, there is a car parked under the shade of the trees downstairs from my apartment. He didn't get out of the car because he didn't want his appearance to make the rumors escalate. He didn't want everyone to cast those probing and teasing glances on me. People should see Erwan's talent, not have her play a part in those romantic scandals. His appearance this time was also because he wanted to say goodbye to me. He was going to the front lines, facing death 1,000 times over, and there was no guarantee he would have the chance to return and see me again, but time was tight. He only had enough to shove the ticket, bought through someone else, into my hand, wishing me a safe journey across the ocean and a peaceful life. Standing downstairs waving goodbye to me, his figure overlapped with the silhouette in my memory. I finally remembered that the newspaper office was not the first time Fu Dongting and I had met. Long ago, when I fled an arranged marriage from the countryside, on the road, a young man stopped and gave me a ride. He spoke to me just as he does today. Miss Wan, the mountains are high and the waters long. Please take good care of yourself. Until we meet again. The flames of war raged on, causing many printing factories to shut down one after another, and the newspaper was about to cease publication. Tickets for ships bound overseas were hard to come by. Kale Chang came to me with Xiao Cheng, hoping I could leave with them by ship. Xiao Yuning looked at him in disbelief. Are you crazy, Kale Chang? Don't you only have 3 boat tickets? How are we supposed to leave with this bastard? Kale Chang wanted to say something dignified, but Xiao Cheng didn't give her the chance. Aunt Xiao, these 3 tickets are for our family. It has nothing to do with you. Xiao Yuning tried to forcibly snatch them, but was mercilessly pushed to the ground. Time is tight. The ship sets sail this afternoon. Kale Chang shoved the ticket into my hand and went to pack his luggage. I squatted on the ground holding the ticket, bending down to look at Xiao Yuning, who was crying. A slap? What? You still owe me a slap. I've already avenged the plagiarism of my article. In this life, Xiao Yuning is infamous, and no newspaper or publishing house accepts her articles. At the critical moment between life and death, right before my eyes, the Chang family father and son abandoned me. After calculating it all, the only thing left unsettled was the slap she gave me when Xiao Cheng was hospitalized. I don't want to dirty my hands. Slap yourself, and I'll give you the boat ticket. Xiao Yuning thought I was humiliating her, but her emotions had already reached a breaking point. She slapped herself twice, almost out of spite. Is that enough? Are you satisfied now? The fear of death swept over her. She had never endured hardship, always playing the socialite and living off men. She simply couldn't survive the days spent running for her life. She never expected that I would really keep my promise and give her that boat ticket. On the day the ship set sail, the Chang father and son searched the entire ship but couldn't find me. Only after the ship had sailed far did they see my figure among the crowd on the shore. Xiao Cheng cried and howled, trying to rush back to find me, but Kale Chang held him tightly. I followed the teacher who was fleeing, traveling westward, experiencing local customs and collecting folk songs. Sometimes I was unlucky and encountered bombings. Once, I was recovering from injuries at a farmer's home. I noticed they pasted discarded newspapers picked up from the city onto the roof, smoked and scorched. Some characters could still be vaguely recognized. When I was lying still because of my injury, I read those newspapers little by little. One day, I actually came across the Lijiang Daily. I read the article I wrote about my mother titled The Ideal Wife. And even the divorce statement between Kale Chang and me. The usually silent farm woman brightened her eyes when she heard my voice. "Are you reading that newspaper? It sounds so nice. Can you tell me what the newspaper says?" She is illiterate and has never been to the city in her life. The only way she can come into contact with things from the city is through these expired, unwanted old newspapers. But she couldn't understand it, and her man wouldn't let her read it either. So she was made to paste glue on the ceiling. She sat down in front of me holding a basket for breaking corn, listening to me talk about those outdated news from the newspaper. When I mentioned my divorce announcement, at first there was resistance and rejection in her eyes. "Can you just get a divorce if you can't go on? Won't people talk? After all, we were just strangers passing by." So I didn't explain much and just smiled it off. Later, after the victory in the War of Resistance, when I was re-establishing the Lijiang Press, I received a letter from a rural area in northern Shaanxi. There were many pictures in the letter, and it took me a long time to understand it. She turned out to be the woman who took care of me that year. She said she learned to read and write with the village literacy team. She was the first in her village to divorce a man who was abusive. 30 years ago, when I announced my divorce in the Lijiang Daily, someone asked me why I had to make it public. Was it to slap my husband in the face, to spite him, or to attract attention? To be honest, at that time, I just wanted to feel free for myself. I just wanted to seek justice for Reborn, who had been humiliated for half her life in the past. In this new life, I want to live differently. Until I received that letter, I suddenly found myself thinking, if those of us, fortunate enough to be literate and considered half-intellectual women, dare not take this step, then what about the rural women who have no land and no skills? Will they never have the chance to contemplate this possibility in their entire lives? A newspaper I happened to read by chance back then, since it can plant the seed of resistance in a person's heart. When I raised this voice 30 years ago, no matter how many obstacles I faced, it was all worth it. After the speech ended, thunderous applause erupted. I saw a familiar face in the crowd. It was Xiao Cheng, now grown up. Compared to his past life, he looked very gloomy and rarely smiled. He came back to the country this time to see me, hoping that I could go abroad to see Kale Chang one last time. After going abroad back then, being in a foreign land, he was not very accustomed to the food and environment, and I was not there to run around for the two of them. Years of working at a desk combined with irregular eating habits quickly led to a bunch of health problems. In his previous life, he was still quite robust at this age, but now he can only lie in the hospital with tubes all over his body. Seeing that time is running out, the only hope is to see me one last time. I waved my hand, threw everything into the charcoal brazier that was about to go out. The employee dormitory applied for by Yang Tu Lijiang newspaper has been approved. My lover Fu Dongting rode a bicycle to take me to see it. The windows are bright and clean, and the light is clear. This place is good. Put a few tables here, and outside the window is an osmanthus tree. In another 2 months, when the wind blows, the whole room will be filled with the fragrance of osmanthus. Here, we'll install a few cabinets and fit them with locks to store valuable belongings. Fu Dongting teased me. "You haven't even been this attentive to the house assigned to your own family." I chuckled softly and leaned on his shoulder. You know, for a woman who wants to write, she must have a sum of money and a room of her own. That was the gift I received on my first day at the Lijiang Press, giving me the courage to leave. Now I also have the ability to pass this courage on to the next woman. Our hair has already turned grey, yet when I recall it, it feels as if it were just yesterday. I rushed through the rain to the Lijiang newspaper office, rain and tears mingling together. Pretending to be calm, I asked someone for a pen. In truth, I was so anxious I was about to cry. Then you gave me a pen, tied with a red ribbon bow. Fu Dongting chuckled softly, holding my hand warmly. The sunlight lazily shone on us. It was truly a very, very good life.